Greetings everyone, this is Vala here, and welcome to my very first Stygian Onslaught video. I do wonder why I never made videos about this. Like, I've made videos about the Exalted ones and the Hypostasis Symphony events where you fight old bosses with unique abilities and such. Those events were so fun that I instinctually just decided to make videos about them because I thought they would be fun to watch and rewatch later, you know. I guess my first runs of Stygian were so ass that I did not want to share them online, and then that kind of became a habit, and that's why this is my very first one. Before we do the current cycle though, I want to do you a quick showcase of all of my previous Stygian runs. And then have a quick, word about them. Where are they? Here they are. There you go. Since I've never shown them before, I just want to give you a quick showcase of my history, So Stygian began in version 5.7, which is when Skirk released. Escoffier was the patch before that, which is why I used the premium Skirk team with Shenhe against the Cryo Shield boss. I didn't even think I had Citlali at this point, so Shenhe was all I could use, and she was the best. I mean, look at the time, it's pretty good. The Lava Dragon requires lots of Pyro. I have no idea what this fuck-ass team is, but that's apparently what I used. And then, of course, Mavuika with this team, along with Nahira in order to deal with the Hydro Tulpa guys that spawn. Like I said, I did not have Citlali, and I really wished I did, because Citlali makes this boss quite a cinch. Although now we also have Nefer, so that's probably just straight up better. I was barely able to do both of these top bosses in time. I had to really work for them. My consistency continued with the next cycle where Inefa came out, and I did not know how good Lunar Charge would be. I thought Lunar Charge would be just a funny little gimmick that doesn't end up changing too much, but then, well, I regretted my options later. I had to make this team work against the Lunar Charge shield boss, and even this barely just made do. This team was really sick though. Mualani did some serious damage. Apparently some say Pyro main character would have been better here than Mavuika, but Mavuika felt better. The timings all matched up better, Now we also have the Hex boss, which would make this team even better, but, that's just what I had back then. And then the Natlan shield. At this point, I already got my Citlali, because I realized how good Citlali would have been against this boss earlier, so I had to get her for my premium Mavuika team, which I did not even end up using. So I put her against the thing that shields Natlan characters, because Citlali is a Natlan character, and she made this boss. It wasn't too bad, but also the time was kind of high. My next run was 5 seconds faster. Once again, Skirk premium team against a Lunar Charge shield boss, because I could not make anything work. I tried Xingqiu and Fischl, and nothing just worked. We didn't have Nefer yet, so I had to make Lauma Hyper Bloom work against this guy, and it worked surprisingly well, actually. And once again, I have this team here, because this team just deals damage, and it is good against someone that requires multi-elemental damage. My next run was quite a bit better, actually. Once again, Skirk Premium, but this time with Yelan, because I needed... wasn't this a Lunar Shield boss? Yeah, it was. I guess I used Yelan as a way to deal a lot of Hydro damage, and then make it immune against Hydro, and then I used Skirk to deal damage. Maybe? Probably. Here I used Flynn's, although I should have used him against this boss. I think the main issue here was I couldn't do Lunar Charge fast enough here. Like, I tried Fischl and Xingqiu and Flynn's, and the shield just regenerated and it did not work, which is why I had to use Skirk. But here I could use Flynn, so I used Flynn's here. My Aino was very low constellation, but they made do. And then this boss, hold on. No, this is not the same one that is in this cycle, but it is an Arlecchino shield bot, and I use Arlecchino with this premium team right here. And the time was surprisingly good, actually. I think this boss had like less HP total than the current version in this cycle. Now things only got better in this cycle because suddenly we figured out we can use Jean against this boss. This was quite a time. My time, it reflects 214 seconds compared to 300 from before. Using Amber in this team was certainly something. And then of course making a Geo Dong using Zhong Dong and the MC herself. Once again, Skirk Premium deals damage, and Arlecchino, this time with Durin, dealing good damage. I think by this time, Hex buffs already existed, but we did not have Nicole out yet. Oh yeah, I remember, I tried using Xiao Premium against this, but Xiao just like deals no damage. and I did not have Veresa, so I had to use Arlecchino plunge damage against this boss. Next up, we have another Gene carry against this boss. If only I knew the strategy against this guy earlier down here, or maybe even against this guy or this guy, it would have been really cool. There was a whole setup that people on the internet really tried to figure out using Tainari's elemental skill spacing to place Zhongli's pillar and whatnot. At this point, I did get Inefa. I realized my mistake, and I also got Columbina, both of them in one. So my Flynn's team was doing quite a serious amount of damage. And the Emperor of Fire, Iron, and Orditic Conquest, I used Nevilet with Escoffier and Sitlali. That's a fascinating team. I don't know why this team worked so well. There could have been better options, but I guess that's just the way it worked out. After these two crazy times, though, we went back into the shield era where, well, the first boss was a Hex shield, mostly on the Venti side with Venti's crowd control and his burst. Venti dealt some serious damage here, I will say. Pretty good numbers. Flynn's against Knuckle Duckle is pretty self-explanatory, and Skirk team against this boss, also pretty self-explanatory. The next cycle was horrible. The performance here was roughly on par actually as the last time. And then I had to use Flynn's with no Columbina and no Inefa against the Lunar Shield boss. And that's because I had to make Columbina and Inefa work with Linnea and Navia against this fuck-ass. Sadly, I can't see the character builds here, but I really had to make this team work somehow because this boss chills lots of Geo. I think I tried to double Hydro, double Geo, but Inefa just dealt so much extra damage and I barely made it in time anyway, so that's how it worked out. The run after was quite something. I tried to make Venti work against this wolf boss, but it did not do enough damage, even after having Nicole and Durin. So I had to stay just far enough away from this boss so I can use Sucrose's normal attacks, but Columbina's skill does not reach it. And that's why I did Electro Swirls to make the Electro thing go away. I had to spend so many attempts trying to min-max everything to try to make this team work. I didn't get Nefer initially, but I got Nefer on the rerun and I used Nefer against this team. This time with no Columbina because Columbina was required here. So I replaced Columbina with Linnea instead. And you know what? Linnea did some serious work on this boss, I'm not gonna lie. And then this boss was certainly very, very interesting. Just look at this team. Muhalani, Nicole Durin, and Escoffier. This is probably the craziest team I've had to concoct together to defeat a boss's mechanic. I tried so many things. I tried Nevilet here, I'm pretty sure. I tried various other things. And yet this... I don't know why this worked so well. I think I only got like one good run of this, and then I had difficulties replicating it to get a better time, so there you go. The next cycle was quite a lot easier, actually. We had the Stellar Shield boss, but I had Sandrone and C1 Yaimiko and Chi-Chi and Escoffier. Flynn's obviously does well against this boss, no questions asked here. And then the racist Natlan boss, where I needed Auroron to get this guy to initiate Meltdown faster. Otherwise, I would have used Bennett here instead, just like I used Bennett in this particular team. Which brings us to our current cycle, which also, funnily enough, ended up having the fastest time out of all the times before, even the one where I cheesed this guy in 25 seconds. These times were so good, I almost thought I might be able to do Dire difficulty, but, yeah, no, Dire is just something else. I tried all three bosses on Dire mode, and that just did not work. All the bosses had like roughly 25 to 50% health left by the time the timer went to 0. Regardless, let me show you the teams exactly. So for the first boss, we have a Stellar Conduct Shield boss. Obviously, I used Sandrone and then paired her together with Yae, Odette, and my C5 Chi-Chi. As for the builds, they're pretty alright. I have a Wolf's Gravestone on Sandrone because that's all I have. I have a decent artifact set. Talents... The only thing that's important is level 10. Yae has E at level 10, obviously. Artifact, same as Sandrone. Weapon with Sith. And her stats, I guess they're important as well. Odette is certainly something. I'm using R5 Fontaine Craftable because that's apparently really good on her. I farmed this, but I could not yet level this thing up because I have no good flower yet, and I don't feel like wasting materials on something I don't plan on using in the future. As for talents, I could have done this level 10, but I feel like level 9 is fine enough for now. And Chi-Chi is Chi-Chi. She is C5. If she was C6, I would also use Burst in her rotation, but I did not. Weapon does not matter. I just put something with energy recharge on it, and artifacts, the tenacity set. For the Sandrone run, it's pretty straightforward. I thirst to Yae Miko, then Odette double tap E, then Chi Chi E, and then go ham with Sandrone. There is some Sandrone tech apparently, but it's just so minuscule that it's not really worth. As for Yae Miko's Wizard buff, I believe her EM buff is the best. The one with 3 notes that gives her 480% out of the mastery. I use Sandrone's burst right here, just because this guy does seem to go around the arena a whole bunch. Like right now, it will start going around to the opposite side of the arena. This also makes it so I have to end my rotation a little bit early by switching to Yae Miko right here. There we go. And now I just go ham once again. At this point, you can go ahead and destroy the animal particles with cryo or electro, and they will go away. Or you can just do stellar swirl or stellar other reactions, and it will cancel out the animal particle effects. Pretty simple. The next boss is the Operative, who shills Bond of Life characters. Arlecchino does really well here. I tried to also use Kazuha and Shilonen here, but Eon-san and Chevreuse just do better. I'm not 100% sure if and how much better Auroran here would be instead of Eon-san, but I'll leave that for you to figure out. As for my builds, they're relatively decent. I have the free spear on her that you get from the standard banner. Artifacts, I have this set, although I also do have a gladiator set if I really wanted to use it. Talents, I mean, obviously makes sense. Bennett, obviously level 13 burst. P6, of course. Artifact, for some reason I don't have a singular noblesse piece with ER on him, but luckily I do have this piece. Weapon, I got Aquila Favonia pretty recently, which is the best high base attack sword you can give him. Eon-san is using the event weapon. Artifacts, just a regular ER maxing scroll set. C6, of course, and talents as they are. And of course, Chevreuse, C6, talents don't matter too much. Artifacts, just max HP as much as possible. Weapon, HP. And yeah, just make sure to get like 40k HP and you're good to go. For Arlecchino's run, there are some energy issues, so after Arle's E, I switch to Eon-san, feed her particles, then Bennett, and then Eon-san burst. Now Eon-san has the particles. Then I switch to Chevreuse, and then feed Chevreuse's particles into Bennett so he can also cast burst. And then I do Arlecchino normal attack 3 times and then dash. I believe this is her best rotation. After the first rotation, I switch to Bennett and then Eon-san. I don't need to feed Eon-san immediately because Eon-san does get some energy somewhere. And then I just continue on doing this. It's a very funky little, very interesting rotation that we have to really split your energy. I try to make the maximum use of Bennett's burst to make sure that Arlecchino does as much damage as possible. And if you're good, then this boss should die within 3 Bennett bursts. Its HP is surprisingly low if you just deal the damage. And there you go. Pretty simple, all things considered. And lastly, we have the Lunar Charge Shield boss, the Knuckle Duckle. I use Flint here because obviously it just makes sense. As for the builds, Flint is pretty decent, lots of crit damage. Weapon, I do have a Staff of Homa, so I put that on him. The artifacts, they're pretty decent, I think. Talents, I have double crowned him because yes. Inefa, I don't think needs any talent level 10s. She is fine as she is. Talents, I use this set. Weapon, she has R1 Battle Pass weapon. Actually, funnily enough, I remember I used this feather on Inefa. Because Flynn's has Staff of Homa, which gives you extra attack when your HP is lower than 50%. I wanted Inefa's shield to be as weak as possible, so I switched off this feather to give her less attack so that she can have a more vulnerable shield. So that way I can actually damage Flynn's so that he can be below 50% HP. Sucrose just uses Sacfrag BV set. Nothing else matters. C6, I guess. And Columbina, I double crowned her because obviously Artifacts uses this set. And Weapon, Thrilling Tales, because I don't want to use Prototype Amber because I don't want to heal. Flynn's needs more attack and he needs to be below 50% HP, you know? And as for Flynn's run, this was certainly a run. I started the run by trying to apply VV on the little ducklings once they spawn. I think that's important, I'm not 100% sure. Also, remember when I said that you want to keep Flynn's on less than half HP? Because you get more damage bonus if Flynn's is lower than half HP. Yeah, apparently I did not do it in this run. And I have a theory for why this run worked and why all of my future attempts did not work. I'll speak on that in a little bit. There is a bit of an energy crisis on Flynn's because Flynn's want to use mini burst as much as possible, so you want to funnel as much energy to him as possible. Inefa's burst isn't really necessary, but you can use it because you have downtime. I use Sucrose's E as much as possible to generate energy, and then I just go ham with Flynn's. I want to defeat the Knuckle Duckle before he spawns the second wave of little ducklings, but because that wastes a lot of time. And I think Knuckle Duckle actually did some extra attacks. And that's why I had enough time to kill it right before he spawned the second wave of Knuckle Duckle. I didn't even get a 1 minute burst. I spent wasted time on her for no reason. And despite everything, I barely have enough energy on Flynn's. I don't know where I pulled this energy from, but I killed it right before it summoned the second wave of ducklings. And, well, there you go. That is Stygian. This has been the version 7.0 Snezhnaya Very Third Stygian Onslaught cycle video. And yes, I have finished the entirety of Snezhnaya by now, thank you for asking. And I do believe this counts as a video. I hope you found something useful in here, or maybe otherwise it was fun to look at me beat the runs or something. And I'll see you guys again in the next patch. Maybe if Zibai gets a rerun because of leeway event, then I'll get her. And otherwise, I'll see you at 7.1 Stygian Onslaught. Until then, though, of course, take care, everyone. Goodbye.